Welcome to the Grow Your Business and Grow Your Wealth podcast with Gary Heldt. Gary is an expert in helping business owners put together a plan that will provide a better future for their businesses, themselves, and their families. On the podcast, Gary interviews other professionals who share his vision, and together they share secrets and strategies any business owner can use to build a better financial foundation for your business and your life.
Welcome back to the podcast. Today our guest is Joshua Gerstler with the Orchard Practice. How are you doing?
I'm great, thanks, Gary. How are you?
Good. Thanks for joining us this morning. So, Josh, tell us some about you.
So I'm a chartered financial planner. I'm based in Boreham Wood, which is in the UK, just on the outskirts of London. And I'm excited to be chatting to you today.
So explain to us, you said that you're a chartered advisor. So what does that mean?
So in the UK, we probably have different terms for the positions and the qualifications.
Okay.
So you can be a financial advisor in the UK.
Okay.
And as a chartered financial planner, it means I've got a higher level of qualification.
Okay, great. So tell us kind of how you got where you're at now, because obviously you didn't when you first came out of school, you didn't go straight into the finance field. What did you do before?
Correct. So when I finished school, when I finished university, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and ended up training as an accountant. Mm-hmm. So I worked for a firm called Deloitte, which I believe you've got in the States as well as the UK.
Yes.
And I did my accountancy qualification, which takes 3 years over here. Qualified as a chartered accountant. And then after about 5 years, decided it wasn't for me. I was happy at the firm and the work was okay, but I realized it's not what I wanted to do long term.
Right.
And I looked at the partners, the seniors, and thought, well, you know what, they earn a great living and that would be nice, but I didn't want to do the work they want to do long term. I wanted to have a balance between something I thought I'd enjoy and something that hopefully would be financially rewarding. And what I like doing, I like finance, I like helping people, and I wanted to help real people with their real financial issues and aspirations, as opposed to what I was doing there, which was working with these sort of huge multi-million, multi-billion pound organizations and not really getting the personal side of it.
Right.
So looked around, spoke to a few different people, and realized that financial advice and financial planning was the route I wanted to take.
That's great. So I guess what is it? I mean, you say that's the route that you wanted to take. What is it about it that kind of gets you fired up in the morning when you wake up to want to get in the office and work with these people?
I enjoy the personal side of it, the social side of it. So I'll meet with a client, a family. It might be I'll sit with you, Gary, and I'll try and understand a bit about you and where you are, where you've come from, where you're heading, and what you're trying to achieve. And I found over the years that most clients who haven't had any financial advice before, or the right type of financial advice, just sort of are going through the motions, just are getting on with it, blissfully unaware, and they don't know how long their money's going to last. Do they need to be earning more? Do they need to be spending less? What age they should be retiring? Can they afford to move to the next property? And I like getting to know these people and understand these issues and aspirations and helping them achieve them.
Right. So, you had the accounting background first before you came into the finance. How is that accounting background helped you on the finance side of things?
I think it's been a real help for a few reasons. One of them, because I had the accounting qualification, I didn't have to sit some of the exams for the financial advice qualification. So that was a great start. But I think it just gave me a general background and understanding about money, about taxes, about balancing the books, that some financial advisors, and I don't mean to say this disrespectfully, because there's a lot of fantastic ones out there, but some of them, it's all about product sales and pushing things onto clients.
Right.
Whereas I think with the accounting background, it helps me work out, well, what do people actually need and want?
Yeah, I think that that's a big issue. And I've had other guests on that we've really talked about that, in the fact that some, again, there's bad professionals in every walk of life, but some want to push the product, and it's more about them and not so much about the client. And I think that, you having the accounting and tax background definitely helps you be more well-rounded than some others that are just, like you said, that are just pushing the product.
Yeah, and the only problem is nowadays when clients ask me an accounting question, I say, I don't know anymore. I haven't done
Right.
that for 10 years. I'm not sure.
But that's okay. That's what I'm for.
Yeah.
And that's where, uh, going back, I'm always talking about the team approach and things like that. And that, yes, I know a lot about, investing money and finances and stuff, but I don't give any advice on that. That's what you guys are there for. I handle the tax and accounting side, and then everybody has their attorneys and stuff like that. And I think it's important to make sure that you have that team working together, because, like you said, you don't remember it anymore. You've been doing the financial planning side of things for what, 10 years now?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so because of that, it's, if you haven't been doing something for 10 years, you're not going to remember everything. That's for sure.
No.
So what, go back in time now. So what is it that now you wish you knew when you first started out?
I think the most important thing I wish I would have known was that not every single person that walks through the door has to become a client. I think I felt at first that if someone was contacting me, put in touch with me, introduced, whatever it was, if someone was coming to see me, I was going to see them, I had to find a way to help them and make them become a client. And probably in the very early days I did, because I had to build up a client base to earn a living. If I didn't have clients, I couldn't pay the bills. But once I got over that initial hurdle, I think I wish I would have known that I don't need to waste time on people that aren't nice. Life's too short, and some clients, the minute you meet them, they're going to be a pain in the backside. And actually, you're going to be better off saying, I don't think we're the right people for you, or we might not be able to give you the best advice for your circumstances. Why don't you go and speak to so-and-so? And I think I would have liked to have known that, rather than waste time on people that were just going to cause me aggravation and sleepless nights and money.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, I wish that somebody had given me that advice also back when I first started, because I know I was the same way. You got to get the money in the door type thing. And for our listeners, it's also important to understand that just because somebody referred you to their financial advisor and they're really happy with them, doesn't mean that you're going to be. And sometimes the personalities and things like that just don't mesh. So
Yeah.
it's okay to say, hey, I think you're a great person, but I just don't think we're going to be able to work well together.
That's right.
It's okay.
And there's a financial side to it as well, because at first, as I said, I take on any client, and I might have been paid in pounds, £50, I don't know, $30 a year for the service, where really that's just not sustainable. So we introduced over the years sort of a minimum asset level, which gradually creeps up, because it's not fair on either side. If someone is not paying your going rate, let's say, it's not fair on them. They might not get the service they need. It's not fair on your other clients who are subsidizing them.
Right. And then sometimes even you have those people that are paying the low amount are causing 80% of your headaches, and it's just for the quality of life, it's just not there sometimes.
Yeah.
So what are some of the questions that when new clients are coming into you that you wish that they would ask you but they don't?
I think sometimes people are very focused on the the product side of it, the investments, the returns. And I think what I try and get people to focus on, and what I think they should be asking, is things like, how are you going to make sure I'm always on track? Am I going to be able to do the things I want to do when I get to a certain age or now? What experience, what qualifications do you have? And rather than sometimes it's, well, tell me what percentage return did your clients get last year, and things like that, which are important, but they're only a small part of the bigger picture.
Right. I think that, and lots of times, this is something that I hear, and I always try to help correct people. It's like, well, my next door neighbor's telling me that they're getting a 10% return on their money. And I try to explain to them, it's like, well, that's in their situation. Their risk tolerance may be way, way higher than yours, type thing. I always joke and say, it's like, your buddy goes to the casino and is gambling, and they tell you about all the wins, but they don't tell you about the losses.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's really got to look at, it's everybody is different.
Yeah, that's right. Everyone's playing a different game.
Right. What are some of the biggest fears that your clients have right now?
I think some common things that come up are, am I going to have enough money to live the life I want to live?
Right.
So I know I can pay my way now, but am I going to be able to do that forever? Will my family be okay if something happens to me? So if I, God forbid, die, if I'm seriously ill, are we going to be okay? And that's the type of thing that's why we're here, to help to answer those questions. And if the answer is not a positive one, is to make changes and put things in place so that it is a positive answer. So
Right.
we'll do lifetime cash flow modeling for people to say, you've asked, are you going to have enough money? Well, no, you're not, if you carry on as you are. But if we put away X amount a month, you'll be absolutely fine. You asked if you're going to be okay if you're ill and you can't work. You're not, but let's put an insurance policy in place, and if that does happen, you will be. So it's trying to give people comfort, but we're always going to be realistic. We're not just going to say, yeah, don't worry, you're fine, just so they think we're great. If something's not right for them, we'll tell them and we'll make the changes we need to.
Right. I mean, I think it's, you're touching on a good topic there. I think lots of times people think that, okay, once you put that plan together and then, okay, I'm set. And it's like, well, no, that it kind of changes, just like your life changes, and depends on what happens. And, if we have a pandemic like like we have, and, how does that affect my cash flow and things like that? So it's important for people to understand that, plans change. And, like you said, you run the analysis and you make the tweaks as you go. How often do you guys meet with your clients?
So with our financial planning clients, we'll have an annual planning meeting.
Okay.
We call it an annual planning meeting rather than an annual review meeting, because we always want to look forwards and
Right.
update the plan. But we'll speak to people during the year. If things need doing, we'll do it. We're not the type of people that will do things for the sake of it, so clients think they're getting value. I say to clients, the less you hear from us during the year, the better. It means things are okay and we're on track. And if there is something that we need to do, we'll get in touch and we'll deal with it. Otherwise, we'll see you in a year's time.
Right. So what are some of the common mistakes that you see clients making?
I think a common one I would say is people leaving it too late to start doing something.
Okay.
So ideally, if you start planning in your 20s, once you finish school and enter the workforce, it makes life much easier, because rather than having to put away a huge amount each month to be able to afford your home or your retirement or whatever it is, you can do a small bit. If you wait till you're in your 50s or 60s, and you've only got a few years left, it's going to cost you a lot of money.
Right.
I think another common mistake, and this is becoming more regular, is the clients that say, I had a bit of a gamble. I had a bit of a punt on the stock market in shares and equities, and it didn't work out. And I said, well, that's normally what happens if you don't know what you're doing. It's very difficult, and it's people that it's sensible, clever people. It's intelligent people who might be putting thousands of pounds into these shares just on a whim. My friend told me this, or I read something in the paper, and making sort of 30-year life decisions on 30 minutes of news. And once you've lost that money, you can't just magically get it back. And I say to people, don't, why risk it? Leave it to the professionals. That doesn't necessarily mean us, but there's fund managers that will know what they're doing and invest your money. And that's over the pandemic was becoming more of an issue with people at home, time on their hands in front of their computers, spending their money.
Right. So, I mean, to me, that's a great example of why it's important to use a professional like you to help with this. Yeah. Can you give us some other reasons why using a professional is going to help you in your success?
Yeah, we're here to make sure people don't make the big mistakes. So you can do things yourself, and as long as you don't make the big mistakes, you might be okay. You won't know because you're not planning properly, but you might be. So we do this all day, every day, like you do what you do all day, every day. So we see all the things that go wrong, and whilst every day is a school day and we're still learning, we're going to be more knowledgeable than someone that's not doing this. So one impulsive action, like when you hear news of the pandemic and you see the markets have dropped 40%, one impulsive action like selling out of all your shares, that could ruin you for the next 30, 40 years. And what we did was when the pandemic started, we called every single client, firstly to make sure they were okay and healthy, but secondly to say, just pause, relax. Yes, there's something bad has happened, but that doesn't mean we change the plan. We've got a plan and we stick to it. And next year there'll be some different bad news. Last year we had different bad news, and we had Brexit, which impacted the markets. Mm-hmm. You go back to 2008. There's always something, and that will be okay. Just relax.
Yeah, I think that I know from the accounting side and tax side of things, lots of times, we talk to people, and it's more to kind of ease their concerns and their angst about what's going on. I guess it kind of goes back to the old saying about control the things you can't control. Don't try to control the things that you can. And I think that's something important, and just having that voice of reassurance there that okay, everything's going to be okay. We put together a plan. Let's just stick with our plan, and we'll come out on the good side of things. Because you have had the accounting background and finance now for quite a number of years. What is something that you've learned with either profession that's kind of really stuck with you, that you kind of practice on a daily basis now?
I would say that the most important thing is to listen. Mm. Every client is different, and if you go into a meeting or a conversation with these preconceived ideas about them, their circumstances, or what they need, it's going to be wrong. I remember very early on, I went to see someone to arrange a mortgage for a house purchase, and I can't remember exactly what came up in the conversation about their existing property, but I assumed that they had a mortgage on their existing property, and it was an awkward point where they had to say, well, actually we own this outright, we've had enough money to pay for it with cash. Mm-hmm. And it was just a few seconds where it was awkward, but it made me realize that never assume anything. Listen to what the client's going to say, and you'll be able to give them the best advice based on that. Same with on the bigger financial planning side. Don't assume someone wants to retire at 65. Don't assume that they want to spend the same money now that they do in retirement. Listen to them, let them tell their story, and then you can give them the best advice.
Right. I mean, I think that's definitely a very important thing for anybody in any profession that they have, kind of sit back and listen, because if you're talking, you can't hear what the person is saying that they really need and what they really want. And I think that's something that's extremely important, is to hear what our clients have to say and what they're actually looking for.
And I know some advisors, when they have a meeting with a client, they don't take any notes. So I write notes when I'm chatting, but even that, you're then taking away from the conversation. And some people have a colleague in the meeting with them who's doing all the writing, so they can focus on the client and the conversation, and then the colleague is just making all the notes. And it's probably not a bad way to go.
Yeah, one of the things that I've done this past year lots of times is when I have, because so much of our meetings were virtual through Zoom, and so many times I would ask the client, do you mind if I record this, and then go get through it and then go back and make my notes and stuff like that, because that's a prime example. Because if I'm writing, then sometimes it does take away my focus and I lose my train of thought, and as we're going through. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do now that we're getting back to in-person meetings and stuff. So my memory's not what it used to be.
Did you find when you went back, or when you go back and watch the recordings, that you pick up on things that you didn't?
Yes.
When you were chatting?
Yes. Yeah. And some of it was funny, because some of it, especially if I'm dealing with a couple, or business partners, seeing one of the person's face that I didn't catch when somebody made a comment, and then that helps me, because then I go back and I follow up with that person and say, okay, hey, look, we were talking about this, and you had a look on your face that was like you weren't too happy about it, type thing. And then we can flush more out. And if I'm doing this, you're not able to see their face, and see those expressions. So yeah, it's definitely been helpful. So I'm, like I said, I'm not sure what we started in-person meetings a week ago.
Okay.
So some people still want the Zoom, so we're going to continue doing offering that also. I think that's one of the things that with this pandemic and everything that we've had is that it's made people think more outside the box. We've been lucky we were doing Zoom before all of this happened, just because we have clients that aren't local to us. And I think that people now feel more comfortable with them and realize it's like, okay, if I leave the office at 5, I can't get to your place until maybe 6, type thing. Now it's like, okay, I'm done at 5. I can get on Zoom at 5 o'clock with you, and we have our 15-20 minutes, maybe half hour to an hour, and that's it. And we don't have to worry about all the commuting time. So I think people are finding it's a little bit more useful than they originally thought. Talking about this, and for us, pandemic, I don't want to say it's over, but it seems to be, people are a little bit more willing to meet face to face than they were before. What are your guys' plans moving forward when it comes to all of this?
So we started over the last month or so to have face-to-face meetings again in the office, and we're giving people the choice. So you can have face-to-face, you can have Zoom, whatever you as an individual prefer. I much prefer the in-person face-to-face meetings. I think one of the biggest challenges over the last year and a half has been with new clients to build that relationship and that rapport through a camera and a screen. And with existing clients, when you're having your sort of planning meetings and your catch-ups, it's fine because you've met them in the past. But for new people, I think it's much harder. And from a personal point of view, I found that difficult. I don't know why. I think I'm better in person than on the screen. I've had to work. I've had to sort of try and think about how I can be more engaging on the camera. But even the things like you said about when you're in person writing notes, if I'm on the camera and if I'm making notes, it's harder. I can't see what's going on. Whereas in a meeting, you can still glance out your eyes at people. So we're going to get back to as much face-to-face as possible, but where it's appropriate, if people are far away or whatever it may be, then great, we'll do a Zoom meeting.
Yeah, I think sometimes too, especially for new clients that you've never met before type thing, I think meeting them in person and having that handshake with them, makes a difference too.
It does, and with what we do and what you do, people are trusting their life savings to us. And if it was me trusting someone else with mine, I'd want to look in their eyes and shake their hands.
Oh yeah, exactly. I agree with you. So we've covered a bunch of material so far. What have I not asked you that you wish I had?
Probably, what would I wish you have asked? Where the future will take me, what my plans are for the future.
Okay.
I don't know the answer, but I think if I take a step back and I said when I started, I needed to see everyone just to get going and to earn a living. And then it's got a bit more sensible, a bit more process driven over the years. And I'm at a point now where I wouldn't say I'm at a crossroads, but I need to at some point in the near future decide, do I want to keep organically growing and developing the business and having it in a nice lifestyle like I do now, or do I want to really expand and take it off and make it a beast, let's say? Right. And that's something I'm contemplating at the moment. I don't know the answer yet because there's pros and cons to both. But that's probably that's what's on my mind at the moment.
Gotcha. That's that is definitely one of those things that it's going to take you time, and maybe one morning you wake up and it's like, yep, I'm doing it, or nope, I decided not to. And making sure that you have that work home family balance is important too, because it can be great that you have this big beast and it's running perfectly and everything else, but when you have little ones at home, you want to see them grow up, and it's hard to do it when you have the big beast that you have to keep feeding all the time.
And that's one of the things I learned over the pandemic is how important the family time is. I've got 4 young kids, and I was at home much more over the pandemic, and I changed my working hours based on that. I used to work from sort of 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning until 7:30 in the evenings, and I decided, okay, I'm now 9 o'clock. Once it comes to 5:30 or as close to that as possible, I'm going home. I'm having dinner with the kids. I'm putting them to bed. It's great. It's life's more enjoyable now.
Yeah, probably a little bit less stress also.
Definitely.
So, Josh, if our listeners like what they've heard and they really want to reach out to you and talk to you, how can they reach you?
So there's a few ways people could reach me. They could connect with me on LinkedIn if they like. They could look me up on Twitter, which is at Josh Gerstler. I also have a podcast, nowhere near as successful as yours, but a friend and I do a podcast called In for a Penny, so people could have a listen on that, or on the company website, which is topfs.co.uk.
I really appreciate your time today. It's been great talking with you. I wish you all the luck and appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me, Gary.
Sure. So today our guest was Joshua Gerstler with the Orchard Practice. Thank you.
This show has been produced by Market Domination, LLC. To discover how you can have your own show completely done for you and turn it into a real published book and become the authority in your marketplace, go to www.marketdominationllc.com/podcast offer.